The bass is dropped. It's afternoon. It's a little late, but these things happen from time to time. It's the afternoon drive edition of Soccer Down here. Jason Longshore, John Nelson, Jarrett Smith with you this afternoon. Had to make sure I said it right. We were busy this morning. We were at the Pity Martinez presser at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground, along with pretty much everybody else who would have appeared on the show. So we are talking to you this afternoon. We'll talk about the press conference. We'd love to hear your responses to it. If you had a chance to see it or you've seen some of the clips or quotes from it, we'll share a little bit as well, a couple things that grabbed our attention. It is a Friday, so we have a Friday flashback question, and it is in honor of Pity Martinez and his signing. Who, in your opinion, is the best MLS player ever?
Wow.
Again, kind of open-ended. You can take that a few different ways. Who is the best MLS player ever? That's our Friday flashback. So tweet those at us as well at Soccer Down here. We'll be getting into that. Before we get started, John went to a concert last night. Variety Playhouse, correct?
Correct.
I want to know, this is a Friday flashback as well, actually.
Yeah.
The band was Crash Test Dummies, which
yes, it was.
I know the band very well. Anybody out there who knows their best two songs? Because there was 2 hits from the Crash Test Dummies.
Well,
I mean, more. 3 might be a reach. 2 here because of 99X. I don't remember the third one that you're referring to.
So you're referring to 2 off of the same album, sir?
I'm assuming. I mean, one was a big song that most people, if they don't know the band, they would know the song. And it's, it's what? Is it one letter? Just over and over again?
Yes, hummed over and over in the same chorus, yes.
Is it like the same letter about 12 times, I think?
Correct.
I can't remember
same
how
letter,
they phonetically
yes.
did it.
Yeah, it was same letter 12 times.
Yeah, I don't know if I can hit the rhythm right off the bat, but like,
yeah. As the baritone of the show, I could probably come closer, but yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I don't have that range in me. Now I got what's the other the Superman song is the other one I was thinking of.
Okay, yeah.
Which one was the other one?
Afternoons and God Shuffled His Feet.
That one wasn't as big here though. I don't know where that ranked on like the alternative charts at the time. Probably, I mean, I'm sure it got played, but I don't remember it that well.
Well, and then after that, it was Afternoons and Coffee Spoons. So the first 3 tracks,
remember that one.
The first 3 tracks of God Shuffled His Feet were tremendous, and then Superman song was from a separate album entirely. Yes,
that was a pretty big hit here, though. I remember that one getting played a lot on a local radio.
And Brad Roberts, the lead singer, actually he told a story about their first album, The Ghosts That Haunt Me, and he said that with that album, they were, amazing in Canada. They were off and running. And then he said that they fired the drummer, and Brad said, well, because he sucked, and we let him go. And then the drummer sued the band. Because the band made a certain amount of money off of the first album, the legal fees and the separation fee to get rid of the drummer and everything gave them 0 in the bank account. But that first album did great in Canada, did nothing in the U.S. So God Shuffled His Feet comes out. Canada wanted nothing to do with Crash Test Dummies. And so Brad tells the story. He says, if it wasn't for a radio station in Atlanta that was the start of the album, of God Shuffled His Feet getting traction, in the United States, it wouldn't have gotten as popular as it did. So he credited 99X for starting all of the furor and the fever for God Shuffled His Feet that just absolutely went bonkers in the U.S. and did nothing in Canada.
They did that with a bunch of bands. Cranberries and Silverchair are two others I can think of off the top of my head that they pretty much broke in the United States. That's how I know the Crash Test Dummies was because of how much 99X pushed them. It was good stuff. Okay, then let's change since we've talked the songs. The other Friday flashback, if you don't want to chime in on the MLS one, is what 90s alternative band, or just what 90s music group would you like to see today that people would go, huh, really? Not the obvious ones. I mean, Pearl Jam, okay, they're still big and they're playing stadiums. Somebody like a Crash Test Dummies. You know, a smaller band that you liked, smaller artist that you really liked, you'd like to see again. If they did a 25th anniversary tour type of thing, you'd want to go see it. Jarrett, do you have one of those?
I'm going to have to think on it, honestly.
I mean, it's not 80s, so I figured you might be able to be included in this.
Yeah, I can. I can make peace with this. Again, I can make peace with my dear and fluffy Lord over the 90s. That's just fine. Wow. Oh, see, and Jason, we've had this discussion many times before, and it's because of your influence that I would do this because you recommended them. But I would go see Hanson. I mean, especially modern day Hanson.
Wow.
Surprisingly good live, actually. They are very good live. That was a fun show. They just did like
Jason's
a cover EP. They did a cover
Wow.
EP a couple of years ago, and they killed a few covers. So
The
very, very much recommended. It's a fun show.
The other one would be one of my favorite punk groups from that era that doesn't do much anymore because their members just split all over the place, was the Chicago punk band 88 Fingers Louie.
I vaguely remember the name. I couldn't tell you anything about them.
It's just Chicago punk.
Okay.
But one of the members went on to form Rise Against.
Okay. There you go.
Forget what the rest of them did. But they had some fun albums. Bad Religion's still touring. That'd be another one, but they had some fun albums in the 90s.
Yeah,
they also
they're
fun
maybe a
albums at the
little
80s.
bigger than that. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know how much they're touring and what they're up to these days, but
Well,
I look at them
Greg
as
too busy
bigger.
teaching PhD zoology at like UCLA. So
Oh, well, there you go.
yeah, he's got like a PhD of teaches. No big deal.
Jeez. My band like that immediately popped to mind, and I have no idea why. It's just one of the kind of random 90s bands that I don't think got their due. Sugar. Sugar was a great band. Copper Blues, probably one of my all-time favorite records, and 3-4 just incredible songs on it. Bob Mould, who was with Husker Du, and later the WCW writing team, which is one of the craziest career trajectories of all time. But he had
Freddie Prinze Jr. at WWE.
I might go Bob Mould is more crazy because you would not think of seeing Husker Du and then going, oh, yeah, he's going to be writing matches for Hulk Hogan in WCW. And, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's just craziness.
I know John will agree with me when I say this, but we'd need a seance to do it. But tragically hip.
Yeah.
Oh, see, that's God rest Gord Downey.
I never got to see the hip, so
if you find it, and I think it's on Amazon Prime. Netflix. It's on Netflix. Dial up the documentary from their last tour, long time running. They did it as a documentary, and it is amazing. So, Tragically Hip's long time running. It's a great documentary about their last tour, and recommended. So, and a shout out to Joe McCurdy, who was also at the concert last night, by the way.
Oh, SDH loyal listener Joe McCurdy. What's up, Joe? All right, so we'd love to hear your nostalgic bands, music artists you would like to see again. Share those with us on Twitter. Love to hear your thoughts on the Pity Martinez press conference this morning. Joe Bost had some audio problems. He did not get to hear it, so we'll talk about that in just a second. And then the Friday flashback question of the day, best MLS player of all time. Those are your Twitter engagement questions for the day. So join the conversation with us. Let's get into the press conference, where we were this morning, why we were not on the air this morning. Pity Martinez was introduced to lots of Atlanta media. Great turnout for it. No real groundbreaking, I think, comments out of it. No big news out of it. I thought Pity handled himself really well. I thought he deflected questions that needed to be deflected very well. I was impressed with his ability to do that. Good to see Justin back involved again. Always fun.
Yes.
The two things that stuck out to me during the press conference, and make sure these came out correctly, we will be sharing a couple of responses from Carlos Bocanegra, who took the questions representing the club. The first one, John, set it up for me.
It was basically how, I guess, the links that you go to sometimes to go see a player. And this one was a pretty solid anecdote. And after this, obviously, Carlos would elaborate on it a little later on when Paul Newberry, the Associated Press, would ask for a little more detail. But this is how Carlos Bocanegra and Atlanta United came to see Pity Martinez, and that train from there and what they saw in him as a player.
This was probably a couple of years back. We went down to Argentina to watch various games down there. You know how it is, you can watch 6-7 games in a weekend, so it's pretty cool. And we're driving around. I remember parked up on the side of the freeway and had to hop over a barrier to kind of run into the stadium because there was so much traffic. We were coming late from another game. I believe that was the first time I saw him live. And then, we'd just been following him from afar. River trained in Orlando. I believe it was last January for the Florida Cup. I think they were there. And we actually got to go out and watch him during training. And some things that stood out to me there were you see him in the game and you see his quality, and he can change the game on the field. You don't necessarily know how they are off the field or around their teammates in training. And I think something that impressed myself, Darren, when we were watching was his attention to detail in training, his quality out there, that he took it serious every touch. Even when they were messing around in a little 5v2, the Rondo game, quality, and he was sharp, technically out there having a good time with his teammates. You could tell he enjoyed training, and when players enjoy training, they love the game. So he wasn't necessarily a guy that was shouting and screaming all the time, but he had a smile on his face. He enjoyed the training. It was preseason. He could have very easily just, took it for granted, but that was something that stood out to us there, that he was a very good trainer as well, and his attention to detail on the field there obviously shows what he provides in the game. So, I think from that moment on, we were like, yes, this, if we can get a hold of this guy, he's for us. And so, yeah, it was a long, complicated process, but here we are.
Joe?
The first part of that, where he was talking about how he actually went to a match at El Monumental, we'll come back to in a second. The second answer was what grabbed my attention immediately, and I think shows a big difference between the way Atlanta United is out looking at players, and especially these types of deals, and maybe some other clubs are. They went to watch training. You have some teams in this league who don't even go to watch a player play. They went to Orlando to watch training during the Florida Cup last year, and that was what kicked it up a notch, was watching him not with the ball, not just what he does as a player, but how he trained, how he enjoyed it, how he was intense, how he pushed his teammates, how just it was a good training environment. I think this is something we see a lot because the team is pretty open in posting stuff from training, and you see lots of hard work, but you also see lots of enjoyment. That's a great scenario, and I think Carlos saying that, yeah, he's for us. he fits into this group because of the way he trains, Jarrett. When you hear other clubs and maybe some of the issues that happen on the training ground or just signings that don't work out, this is a level of detail that I don't know if everybody in the league is actually going to.
Yeah, this is just it's impressive. And the thing that stuck out to me, and I apologize if I'm getting ahead of us because I don't have a list of sound clips in front of me,
It's okay.
is the little comment where he talks about, we had just probably finished watching Franco. Like, this is not a quick process sometimes. And we learned this last year through the Darlington Nagby thing where, they had talked about Nagby in the summer. For all we know, they had talked about Nagby before that. And then, it was months later that you see the move get done. If you've ever seen chess get played at a super high level where it takes hours to play, this is what it feels like. It can be exhausting, but this is a multi-month, can be sometimes a year or more process that they're going out, they're watching training. And, you can say, well, they only went to Orlando. Well, they took advantage of an opportunity no one else apparently took advantage of. We don't even know. Do we know if other teams went to that training to look at Pity? Do we know if other teams go to look at training of, so-and-so is training in America this week? Well, then, that's a shorter plane ticket than, say, to Buenos Aires. Take advantage of those opportunities when somebody comes and trains in your backyard.
And not Marcelo Bielsa style taking advantage of somebody training in your backyard either. I think they were probably allowed to watch. I think it was all good.
Yeah. And if you get caught, just hold up a PowerPoint of, here's what I learned about how to beat that team. Just double down.
There you go. John, the story that Carlos had about just their trip. I mean, they went to Argentina and they were watching a bunch of games, and the way the league set up, the way the country set up, you get an opportunity to go see lots of different games, all in a pretty short period of time and honestly short distance. But to get stuck on the highway and have to be crossing a not that fast a moving highway, but still it was moving to get into a match. That's just one of those stories that goes down in Atlanta United legend.
It
Something
goes
Mama
into
Boca Negra doesn't approve of, probably.
Yeah. I don't think that the Mama Boca Negra approves of Frogger on an Argentinian freeway. But when the book comes out, and by the way, we'd be happy to write it, just the adventures to get to this kind of level of recruitment and chasing after players and seeing what you can see. And I'd love to know the number of miles that Carlos and Darren put in a year, what their status is. Are they like Black Diamond when it comes to Delta? And how many thousands of miles they have or thousands of points they have when it comes to hotels? And do they get like the penthouse suite now every single time when they go on vacation? But this speaks to the level of engagement, and it speaks to the level of involvement, and it speaks to just how invested they are as a franchise to go and look for the best players, to continue to challenge themselves about getting better. Just because you've won a title, if you sit on your laurels, that means that everybody else is catching up with you if you stand pat. And to do what they're doing, I think it just speaks volumes as to the level of absolute investment they have in continuing to be better, to continue to win trophies, to continue to win more trophies, to continue to make themselves the global brand that they've sought to be ever since they came online.
I think their Sky Miles level and hotel points level is something that's not published. I don't think we see those on the website. They've found new levels that only they know and only other Globetrotters around the world know. One other quote from the press conference for you crazies who were at the airport at 5 in the morning. Pity definitely took notice. He said, "I was very surprised. I think we landed around 5 a.m., so I wasn't expecting people to be there. But it was a very nice welcome that the fans were there. Seeing that support gives you the strength to really want to start the season." And he's been involved in training, and he is training today. I don't know what the training schedule was today, but Pity is right in there already. And we talked about it on our Facebook Live after the press conference over at 92.9 The Game. You know, the season for River Plate ended in the Club World Cup, or the half season that he was participating in. The Superliga is back underway for them now. He stopped playing at least a week after MLS Cup, maybe a little bit longer than that. So a little bit more of a break and not starting on day one of Atlanta United's training camp really wasn't that big of a deal. He probably needed it. So everything's good with training for him. I know that was a concern for some. He's got plenty of time. He didn't have a long layoff, so he'll be okay. It's just building those relationships now, and it's building that chemistry with Joseph, with Tito, with Miguel, with Barco. One of them will be playing next to him the first half of the season. Don't know which one yet. We'll get into that on the other side of the break because we have a new rumor to talk about. Yes, new rumors
Pew, pew, pew.
in hashtag Miggy Watch. We'll get into that on the other side of the break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky and Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yep, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency, or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Afternoon Drive edition of Soccer Down here. Thanks for listening to us in a different time slot. And lots of you guys are listening to us. And lots of you guys listen to 90s alternative music, too, which didn't necessarily expect. We'll get into your bands you'd like to see in modern day times. We'll get into that in just a bit. But we have a new potential, maybe rumored, kind of whatever suitor for Miguel Almiron, a club that had not come up just yet, Napoli. This is according to Lee Ryder of the Newcastle Chronicle, who's kind of been leading this whole thing from the other side of the pond. In his article this afternoon, Newcastle United have refused to increase their offer for MLS star Miguel Almiron, although Sky Sports talked about how it was more likely now that you could see Miguel Almiron go to Newcastle. Shocking. Differing news outlets have differing takes. But Lee Ryder also says sources in Italy are now indicating that the player's agent, Daniel Campos, has headed to Serie A to strike a deal for his client. It's believed, this is Lee Ryder saying it's believed, that Almiron has been offered to Napoli. Interesting. We did have a comment from Soccer Over There, Garlic Bread Warlord Nick Alifi, said Miggy could thrive at Napoli. Carlo Ancelotti is a patient manager who will allow him to grow in the system. ADL, who is kind of crazy, but also a president, according to Nick, who cares about his players, and would ensure that Miggy would have a chance to play. He would also love life in Italy. I've mentioned Italy before as like the spot that I think, from a playing standpoint, Miguel Almiron would thrive in. I think the style of play, I think the tactics involved, he'd be a perfect fit, and I think he'd be a star there. Not to say that he couldn't be in England. Also, the money is bigger in England across the board. But this is an interesting new name, and, Jarrett, we've talked about it a lot. You needed multiple names here to drive this and potentially drive up a price. If there are other names emerging late in the window, that's a good thing for Atlanta United.
It is, and, not everyone's going to be John Gruden bidding against themselves, so you kind of have to hope that...
Or trading away your best players and then wondering where your pass rush went.
There's that too. But, yeah, it's another name that pops up, and it's a big name, and it can be another transitional name. I mean, when we think about a player going from Atlanta to Europe, we think about Atlanta can be that launch pad over to Europe. Well, Napoli can be the launch pad through Europe as well. He could stay in Napoli for a while, or he could just thrive there and then end up deciding, some other club may say, okay, he came here and lit Napoli on fire and, killed a man to watch him die while he was here. We could get this guy. Let's get him onto the British Isles, or let's get him in Spain. Let's get him in Portugal. Let's get him in France. It doesn't have to be the last stop for him. And we're getting way ahead of ourselves when I say this, but I would be very curious to see what kind of deal Atlanta strikes with whoever they might strike, be it in the summer for Miguel Almiron when he eventually moves. If, they take a little bit less with the idea of throwing a sell-on clause at the on the back end of his deal, so that if he does move again, Atlanta gets another kickback.
Yeah, and that's a big part of this, especially as you start trying to get to that $30 million number that's been bandied around. It might be tough to get $30 million in flat-out cash up front, but if there is equivalent things you can add in, whether it's a sell-on fee, whether it is incentive-based extra payments, what have you, maybe that's the route to go here. But the sell-on fee is an interesting idea, and I think it comes into play more depending on which club he goes to. If he goes to a club that could be a little more of a stepping stone, and Newcastle and Napoli are not necessarily that, but that sell-on fee, because of where Miguel Almiron is in age, you would expect there would be another contract here at some point. And the way European clubs do business is they're going to make a transfer before you get to that point if they don't want to re-sign the player themselves. John, this could be a fit where either Napoli is a destination or Napoli is a bidder that could drive up more business in this conversation.
Right. And for those keeping track of these kinds of things, there have been 5 bids or 5 incoming transfer fees to Napoli that were 22 million euro or more. And the top end of that was Gonzalo Higuain, who was coming in from Real Madrid at 39 million euro, but that was 5-6 years ago.
To clarify, they've spent that.
Yes.
That's outgoing for them.
Yeah. Outgoing to bring someone in.
Right.
Yeah. 22 million euro for a goalkeeper, 24.5 for a right winger, and another 30 for a central midfielder. That happened this year. Then 16-17, 32 million for a center forward from Ajax, and then Higuain came in from Real Madrid, and they spent 39 million euro on that.
Okay, so I'm getting up to speed on my pounds to U.S. dollars conversion. What about euros to U.S. dollars?
I was going to ask you.
It's like 1.15, I think.
So not quite as much as pounds. So
it's not as vicious.
Closer to like for like. But those numbers are in that wheelhouse of what Atlanta would be looking for here. It's an interesting proposition. And again, Daniel Campos, Miguel Almiron's agent, has not been shy about talking about it, not in an aggressive way, but he's talked about what he would like to see for his client and the work that he's putting in to make that happen. The reason the reason I clarify a little bit about how Miguel's agent has handled this is there's been some other agents here lately with Major League Soccer players who have handled things a little differently. And I think Atlanta United appreciates Daniel Campos and the way he is doing his business for his client, because I think it's going to end up getting a better deal in the long run. And that's the important thing here. A lot of that goes back to the way this club does business. We're hearing all kinds of things right now about the New York Red Bulls and Kaku's agent saying some pretty outlandish things. And Toronto has had rumors all day
Very nice
about.
way to put it.
Yeah, we'll read that in a minute. Trying to be political here. Sebastian Giovinco has been. Yeah, I'm trying. Sebastian Giovinco has been linked to moves to Al Hilal in Saudi Arabia today. Christian Jack and Sam Stejkal are reporting that no offer has been received, and it feels, again, like agents trying to muddy the waters. But there's lots of rumblings in Toronto right now, and there's lots of rumblings about lots of people not happy. And this is not news, because Giovinco came out day one of training camp, had some things to say. Josie Altidore, I don't know if he stopped talking about other places that might not be bad fits. It's difficult, and you had to send the player home because there was an altercation about insubordination, and you're not getting that here. You're getting an asado at Leandro Gonzalez Perez's house last night. That's what you're getting with Pity Martinez, with Ezequiel Barco, with Miguel Almiron, all having a meal together. The club culture in Atlanta is very strong, and it's a very important part of its success.
The one that's unique to me with this club is I was always kind of curious how the Carlos Carmona thing went down, because we heard so many extenuating circumstances about his wife, about family wanting to raise his child in Chile, There's a lot about that that's admirable, and I don't know how all that went down. I don't know if there was any, tension between agent and player and team. And as far as I'm concerned, that's the point. If there was, and Kevin Kratz mentioned this at media availability the other day, stuff that gets out, we're okay with getting out. If we don't want it to get out, it ain't getting out if we can help it. And the team's been pretty good about that for the most part. And that's the thing I go back to about that Carmona thing is it may have been amicable and really smooth. It may not have been. I don't know. And for me, that's the key. It never got publicly ugly, and it went over swimmingly in the public eye in the grand scheme of things. There was a bit of he said, she said about, he's going to go. No, he's not. Yes, he is. No, he's not. It was transfer stuff. But it didn't get to the Giovinco or the Kaku level, thank goodness, which few things do.
Yeah, luckily that has not been a thing here at all. The Carmona one went down pretty smoothly by all accounts. There was a little bit of the back and forth. I think it was not necessarily planned, but situation made it work, and the club made the best of it, and I think Carlos Carmona made the best of it, and everybody's still good. La Banda reunited and in South America with different players hanging out with Carlos during the break, so that's a good thing. It does feel like a very close-knit group here, and you don't get these situations that we're seeing in Toronto and with the Red Bulls. You're just not getting those right now. And that's a very important part of everything going on here in Atlanta. And it's something that has to be talked about when you look at what hopefully other clubs can learn from Atlanta United. Because this seems to happen far too often in other clubs where you have either late business where you're still adding pieces to your roster, like after the season's already started, when you have guys who want to go and force their way out. Full credit to Houston for working with Albert Ellis here and figuring out what's going to be the best fit for him. It hasn't gotten ugly. It hasn't gotten bad with that at all. He didn't go to Turkey and try to force a move and demand a move. He's in Houston preparing for the upcoming season. And there was an interview with Wilmer Cabrera, and he said, look, it's on Albert to earn that deal. And when the time is right, the time's right. And right now, the time and the price hasn't been right for Houston. but it seems like everybody's on that same page. With Kaku, that's not the case, John. Like, you've got a situation where an offer was made from a big club that presumably would have, meant a big raise for him in salary. His club, the Red Bulls, did not accept it, countered with almost double what the original offer was, and nobody's happy about it. And the agent has been incredibly vocal about the situation, and it's been ugly.
Scorched earth is the phrase that comes to mind when what the agent is saying, and obviously we don't have any way of having what is true and what is not, but when you're saying that you're not paying for coffee, you're not paying for Ubers, you're giving this presentation that the organization is nickel and diming their stars, and then you're asking for double because he wants to go, it's not giving the best impression for anyone who might even think about wanting to go play Red Bull with Red Bulls in the future because of what you're seeing with Kaku's agent. And I mean, go back and for anybody that wants some reading material.
Here's some reading material. Here's some listening material.
Go. Give it to
me. Gustavo Casasola is Kaku's agent, and this is direct from the Athletic article that hit a couple of hours ago. Christian Dyer, who covers the New York scene very closely. Casasola said they don't treat Kaku like a star. The furniture is in his contract. He passed them the bill X months ago. And Kaku 3 days ago told me, Gustavo, you know that they never paid me the bill of the receipt of the furniture. Why? I don't know. All the time there are problems. Kaku's stay here is very bad here. Very bad, very sad. He followed up talking about the situation with Red Bull and ownership and how it all works. He said, it's impossible to talk with Dennis. Dennis Hamlet is the Red Bull New York sporting director. He said, it's impossible to talk with Dennis because it's not a problem with Dennis. I appreciate Dennis, but Dennis is under the orders of the German people. I'm very disappointed in these people. I don't believe these people. I want to move and never come again to Red Bull. Never come again. Only if they change the way they deal with people. They don't want to dialogue. They only want to give orders.
That ain't good.
He gave an interview in Spanish to ESPN and Fox. In said interview, he referenced Martin Luther King Jr. and Adolf Hitler. Yes, that actually happened. And he had more things to say about Kaku's treatment with the Red Bulls. This is bad all the way around. Is it BS? We don't know. Is it true? We don't know. But it's out there. And that's a problem. As Casasola said, contractually he's bound to the league. Maybe he'll go from here in the summer transfer window. I don't know. It's very difficult to stay in a place you don't want. It's very difficult when you don't trust these people. Hey, this is what's happening with your Supporters Shield, current holders. This is a team that should be competing for the top of the Eastern Conference, and this is a mega distraction. Does Kaku want to be there? Sure doesn't seem like it if you follow him on Twitter. What are you going to do about it? You did sign Mark Shatkovsky yesterday to a new deal. The Red Bulls had declined his option on a permanent transfer at the end of 2018. They brought him back into camp. They signed him to a new deal yesterday. That would make it a little more palatable if you have to make a move here. But what's your leverage? You have a player and an agent right now who are about as vocal as you can be about not wanting to be in your current situation. Do you want to keep that around your club for another 6 months? I don't know if you can afford to do it.
It's really amazing. I mean, this is, like you said, this is a club that she could be competing. This is a club that, by all accounts, I wouldn't be upset if let's take the Pity Martinez thing out of the equation. If Atlanta had stood pat, especially, this is a club where I could understand if you said, "Hey, this club's my favorite in the clubhouse before we get into the season to win the cup." Like, okay, that's fine because I get it. Like, just because it is a system and it's just going to continue to be efficient, it's not going to be the same as last year because you don't have Tyler Adams. You lost guys, but this is a team. This is a team and a club that should be getting ready to compete for a championship, not trying to figure out, how much of the earth has been salted in Carthage, which is pretty much where they're at right now.
Yeah, so that's one of the Eastern Conference contenders. We're going to take a break, get you caught up on one of the other Eastern Conference contenders, the 2017 Supporter Shield and MLS Cup champion Toronto FC, Sebastian Giovinco. He's been pretty vocal in this offseason. Josie Altidore, he's been pretty vocal in this offseason and now in this preseason, and both have had some interesting things happen lately. We'll get you caught up on that and more after this.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus, and Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinsky of Apolinsky & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. Soccer Down here, January 25th, afternoon drive edition of SDH. Jason Longshore, John Nelson, Jarrett Smith with you this morning. We talked Red Bulls. Let's talk Toronto FC. All kinds of crazy stuff going on today. Sebastian Giovinco linked to rumors of going to Al Hilal in Saudi Arabia. Talk about his agent being frustrated, trying to get a new deal or trying to force a move. The agent reportedly is in Saudi Arabia checking out the facilities at Al Hilal. There was talk about getting visas. It's just been constant chaos. But just a little bit ago, Josie Altidore Instagrammed in his Instagram story a picture with Sebastian Giovinco that said, "Se queda," and tagged Giovinco. So he's saying he stays. We'll see, because Josie's had a few things to say here lately, too, about, Mexico would be pretty nice. I've always been interested in playing in Mexico. Remember, there's been lots of different rumors about Josie Altidore in Mexico in the past. I believe Tigres has reportedly been interested. I think Club America has been interested because they seem to be interested in pretty much everybody these days. John, I mean, Toronto, the Gregory Vanderveel stuff didn't feel like that was all of it. It feels like that, with the Giovinco chirping, with the Altidore chirping, what's next with Toronto?
More player chirping? Or do you just reach a point to where you sit there and go, okay, we've got a fish or cut bait with these guys who are chirping and really just make a clean break? If there's chirping involving Gio, maybe we do pursue what's going on over overseas. And then with Josie, maybe you do kick the tires on an offer. And maybe the second half of the season, is far different from the first when it comes to their approach on the pitch. Because, I mean, as we all know, when you come up with a new general manager, regardless of sport, they want their own guy. And this is where we figure out if there's going to be some kind of a detente with Greg Vanney and Ali Curtis. Is Curtis kind of peeking around corners, trying to sit there and go, okay, if things go sideways and this guy can't control all of the alleged sniping and everybody wanting out kind of thing, do I cut bait with Vanney and try to bring in my own guy? I mean, I have more questions involving Toronto FC from the last 2 days, and we talked about it on the show, and in my mind, they have gone from someone who is top 3, top 4 to I don't know. And for a team like Toronto FC to have these kind of questions, part of me is just kind of sitting there and wondering if Tim Bezbachenko is lying in the weeds to try to pick something up on the fly.
Here's the quotes from Josie Altidore. This is from an article with Grant Wall, Sports Illustrated. There's also a podcast as well. He said, I'm a Toronto player for another 10 months or however long we play, and that's just the reality of it. It's fine. It's the business. It would be worse if I had to look back on Toronto and didn't have a trophy and didn't have the things we've done. So to have those things, it doesn't sting as much. But at the same time, I look forward to playing for the fans there. I'm looking forward to doing that this year, and then we'll see what happens after that. Then he said, I'm not going to lie, I'm intrigued by Mexico. Obviously, it's close by. I didn't know how big of a reach the league has until I came back to MLS and was closer to it and playing against those teams and watching the games. I didn't know they get some of the most viewers out of all the leagues broadcast in the States. Then he also said, talking about playing for the national team and some of the negativity he hears, he said, I'm a villain in my own country and I accept it. It's fine. I'm moving to Canada, he cracked. Whether I stay there or not, I'm buying a house there, and that's that. All right, lots of different things to unpack here. Josie Altidore, I don't think will be with Toronto by the time the 2020 season rolls around. I don't know if he's going to be there this season, but he's not going back. He's said too many things and made it too clear that he's looking beyond Toronto moving forward. Does he go to Mexico? Maybe. Does he try to force a transfer here? I don't know if he really cares about a transfer, to be honest. I mean, he seems resigned to playing in Toronto this year, and you know, not a horrible thing. He's not saying bad things about the club or about the fans. He said nothing but good things about Toronto fans. So I think he can ride it out and be a good soldier and get it done, but he's not going back. Does the club, because they're in this spot, okay, you're going to have to punt on Vanderveer. You're not going to be able to get anything for him. There's too much out there about an altercation. You're not going to be able to get a transfer fee for this guy. So you're going to have to just, swallow a lot of money that you invested in him and a lot of salary you invested in him, and you're not going to get a return on it. You're in the last year of the deal for Bradley, for Giovinco, for Altidore. Bradley's with U.S. men's national team camp. Altidore is looking down at Mexico and saying, yeah, it'd be pretty cool. Giovinco, I don't know what he's doing. Supposedly his agent's in Saudi Arabia. We don't know if that's true or not, but he hasn't sounded very happy in quite a while. This is a tough one, Jared, if you're Toronto, because you also have that new general manager in Ali Curtis. Does he come in and say, you know what, I'm not going to deal with any of this. I'm shipping out what I can ship out and bring in whatever return I can and build my team? Does he look at the roster he has and say, you know what, even without Vanderveer, this is a team that can win a trophy this year, and we're going to go for it all in and see what happens? Do you try to re-sign any of the big three? It feels like the biggest drama in the MLS offseason is in Toronto this year.
It does. And the thing that comes to mind for me, and some may take it as a cop-out, is I wonder if you look at it and go, let's try what we can with this. And if we get to, the close to the middle of the season where the deadline hits in the summer window and it ain't happening, well, let's just hit the little red button. And we'll see what we can get out of this. And if we get something, great. But with the volatility at hand, if it doesn't work out, we're just going to purge the whole thing and we're just going to space it all. I have questions, and I don't mean it to be accusatory, and it's going to come across that way. whether he is responsible for it or not. I got questions about Vispachenko. Like, I wonder, did he look at the foundation here and go, we're gonna have to gut this entire house. I'm just gonna go over to Columbus. Here, you can gut this.
He got out at a good time for him, huh?
He got out at a great time for him. I'd love to know how much he knew, because looking at all this now, it feels like how much volatility, what may or may not have been brewing, and not hitting at full speed, how much volatility may have been brewing over the last few years in Toronto.
Oh, man. I mean, you had to know. You had to know stuff was bubbling up. The Vanderbilt thing doesn't happen out of nowhere. Giovinco's been chirping since last season. So has Altidore. So, yeah, it feels really strange. I'm kind of with you, though. I think at this point you are a little stuck. You know, what are you going to be able to get for Giovinco or Altidore in the next 6 days? Unless you've had conversations ongoing.
For what it's worth,
if you have, then go for it.
I am a full fan of anyone who wants to embrace the heel. And if that means that Josie Altidore goes to Mexico and beats a U.S. team in the CONCACAF Champions League final, okay, man, complete that storybook for me, Josie. Do it.
Yeah, and that's the last part of it. Look, we've talked about it.
Or go play for Montreal.
Yeah, there's that. Look, we've talked about it before. The whole let's boo Michael Bradley and Josie Altidore thing, because it's completely those two players' fault that the U.S. didn't qualify for the 2018 World Cup. I disagree with it. I think it's scapegoating two players, and two of the best players the U.S. men's national team's ever had. The fact that Josie's saying these things publicly, I hate to see that. I hate to hear that, because he is one of the best strikers the country's ever produced, flat out. Can argue with me all you want. That's fine. I will argue back with you, because he's been an outstanding player for his country. And has he been what maybe some people thought he might turn into? No, because that rarely happens. That players live up to every single expectation, whether they're fair, reasonable, realistic, or not. Josie Altidore scored a lot of big goals for his country in his national team career. He scored a lot of big goals for Toronto. He scored a lot of big goals at a lot of clubs. Just because he didn't at some clubs doesn't mean he's a failure. And I'm not going to put things down on just him. I will not do that. I hate to hear that from him. And I hope somehow that would change. I don't know if it will. I honestly don't think it will at this point, unless he scores a goal in the 2022 World Cup to win a match. And I don't know if he's going to get that opportunity. So that last part stings. I hate to hear that, because I don't think a national team player who's given as much as Josie Altidore should be feeling that way. That doesn't feel right to me. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens if Michael Bradley's in the lineup for the U.S. men's national team on Sunday night as they take on Panama in Greg Berhalter's first match on the touchline wearing the U.S. crest as a manager. We'll talk about that as we go today. We'll also get into the Friday flashback responses from you guys, 90s bands that you'd like to see today, and the best ever MLS player now that Atlanta United has signed the reigning South American Player of the Year, Pity Martinez. Who's the best ever in MLS? Who is the MLS GOAT? We'll get into your responses in hour number 2, but we've got one more segment to come back and finish up hour number 1. Hang out with us. We'll be right back.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Putting a bow on hour number 1 in our afternoon drive edition of Soccer Down here. Thanks for listening. Appreciate it. Thanks for finding us in a different time slot. Some more breaking news out of Newcastle because they just can't stop, can they? Sky Sports' Keith Downey tweets out, breaking. Newcastle's move for Jordan Lukaku is off, despite him having a medical this morning. That'll explain why Rafa wouldn't talk about him today. Newcastle. You just can't get anything done, can you? Yeah. Poor Rafa. I feel bad for him.
I do, yeah. Stuck in that situation. And, I mean, he loves the fans. He loves Newcastle.
He stuck with them when they got dropped, when they were relegated. That doesn't happen.
No, he said that it was because of the fans and because of what they've shown him about their love for the team was why he went down with them and coached them in the championship. And to be put through this ringer by Mike Ashley, it's criminal. And I want Rafa Benitez to succeed. And it's a point that we've had on the show about Newcastle, that Newcastle is a tremendous environment for the sport in the Premier League. And for those fans to continually be put through all of this nonsense, and that's what it is. It's nonsense. It's an absolute crock. They deserve better. Rafa deserves better. Newcastle deserves better. But they just can't get out of their own way.
No, they just can't seem to figure out what to do here. And if they get relegated for the third time in a decade, that could be curtains, because I don't think Rafa's sticking around for a second go-around at the championship, especially if he doesn't get the pieces that he has been asking for so long. It's going to be an interesting next couple of days. That's all I've got for you guys. We'll try to keep you posted on the credible talk from across the pond, whether it's Italy, whether it's England, whatever the transfer window saga with Miguel Almiron continues to bring us. We'll try to break it down for you as we go. We're going to take a break, come back. Hour number 2, Friday Flashback, your answers after this.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double-goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student-athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinsky of Apolinsky & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Soccer Down Here daily on SDH Networks, a division of OSG Sports. Find us at Soccer Down Here on Facebook and Twitter. The time is now the top of the hour. Peep, y'all.
Hour number 2, Soccer Down Here, January 25th, afternoon drive. A little bit different time slots, kind of weird. The sun is going to start going down here in a bit. We're used to watching it come up out the window as we're doing
traffic
the show.
updates maybe on the 6s.
It's bad. It's very bad. Don't get in it. That's what I have for
75, 85 is a slow ride working your way downtown. Maybe delays starting around Howell Mill Road all the way down to 14th Street. Actually stays beyond that, moving up 85 and 400. Not a bad ride as well, though.
You didn't mention the Grady curve.
You didn't get there
I gave
yet.
up on. I retired from traffic reporting, sir.
Okay, fair enough. All
There are
right.
a couple of insurance seminars on the drive down.
No, I'll leave those to Art. And
The
keep out there,
Friday flashback question was best player in MLS history. Had some interesting responses, and we'll get into ours as well, but quite a few for Joseph Martinez. And I will argue against that for now because it's only 2 years.
Sample
He
size.
can't be the best player in league history with 2 years. That's too dismissive of the other 20-plus years of league history. He's been outstanding, and it's been the best 2-year run in MLS history. I would say that for sure. But it's just 2 years. So best player in MLS, the GOAT of MLS. I can't give it to Joseph just yet. If he sees out his contract and keeps scoring at the rate he's been scoring and lifts more trophies, then maybe we're having a different conversation in 5 years. But I can't go there yet. Four-Card Ahmed goes Landon Donovan, best MLS player, as does David King. The MVP trophy is named after the guy, so
yeah.
I mean that's a big check in the Landon Donovan category here. He had an amazing MLS career, and he won. I mean, there is when you talk about the best ever, this comes up in every sport. I think you have to win as well. I don't think you could say Dan Marino's the greatest quarterback in NFL history.
No.
Because he didn't win a Super Bowl. Outstanding, but not the best. I think it matters.
I mean, that's the Montana Brady argument.
Well, those are two winners. I mean, now the scale of winning.
People will give their answers. People will give answers either based on sample size or they'll be generational answers. And I think that older people, if asked that question, greatest quarterback of all time in the National Football League, I think that some folks may say Joe Montana, depending on what they saw more. Some folks may say Tom Brady on what they saw more. I think that the answer, though, might come out generational.
Oh, I mean, obviously. I mean, because you can't compare the eras. It's not the same. MLS in the first 5 years isn't the same as it is in the last 5 years. It's a much better league now. But that doesn't discount players who had great runs during that time either. And I think you have to talk about it and compare it. I mean, Jarrett, what are your thoughts so far?
For best MLS players? Or player?
Player.
Oh, I mean, Donovan's got to be up there. I don't know if he was the best. Valderrama always comes to mind.
Yeah, and he came here at 34 and still had a long run and was very successful.
It was still fun.
I mean, he couldn't run pretty much at all. especially at the end, but he could still drop a dime with a pass as good as anybody. Josh Eisenberg kind of had a cop-out answer and took it into a different realm. He wrote favorite MLS players of all time, and he named 5. We could talk about these guys a little bit, though, because Clint Dempsey, I think the bulk of his career being outside the league, would take him out of the MLS GOAT conversation for me, but yeah, I mean, he started his career here after a little bit of time in college at Furman, was really good but really raw with the New England Revolution. Then when he came back to Seattle, he had some amazing years, especially paired up with Obafemi Martins, but I think with the bulk of his career being in Europe, you just can't put him in that conversation.
Can we, this isn't a breaking news, can we get a air horn?
Yeah, there we go. Go ahead.
New York City FC and Yoing and Burgett have mutually terminated their contract.
I mean,
I only know this because Mike Conti sent me the Burgett pun that I love so much.
Nice.
So,
it's not a shock. I mean, this had been rumored for a while. So New York City FC currently has 0 forwards on their roster.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe you're going to say Jonathan Lewis is a forward and lie. I don't know, but he's not.
Rounding up.
Just announced today. They wish him well for the future, so that was nice.
Salute.
23 regular season appearances, 4 goals, 3 assists. That is his career with New York City FC. Jarrett's favorite Norwegian.
I thought that was Anne Margaret.
Okay.
I mean, I wonder if he goes back to a place like Malmo, where it was really good. I mean, things were clicking there for him, and they just did not click here at all. And it wasn't like he didn't have opportunities to play. So, best of luck to him somewhere in the future.
Yeah, NYC has 2 forwards
he would try
listed.
and get back to Europe.
He's going to go back to Europe. I don't think he's going to stick around. They have 2 forwards listed, Jonathan Lewis and Ismail Tajori Shradi. Both are wingers. Stop fooling us, NYC. It's not going to work.
He's going to play with a false 9 this year.
Play him out
play
wide.
With false everything up top because they don't have a forward. All right, let's get back to Josh Eisenberg's favorite MLS players of all time. Next one, Cuauhtemoc Blanco. Wow.
He's still active, isn't he?
No, he's not. He last was, I think, mayor of a town in Mexico, and I think he was in trouble because that wouldn't surprise me. He came late in his career, too. Didn't play very long, but, man, he was the last really exciting thing about the Chicago Fire. Ask referees in the U.S. Open Cup how exciting he was. I think he's banned for life from the U.S. Open Cup.
Video's out there.
Yeah, but he was an incredible player. Unbelievable player.
That's amazing.
What's that?
Can you imagine your legacy being banned from the U.S. Open Cup? That's fantastic.
No, what's funny is like the U.S. Open Cup handbook that comes out every year, it has like a listing of who is suspended and hasn't served the suspension. And I mean, there's people in that I know that just the team didn't qualify again, so they're still suspended. And if they're on a team that qualified, they wouldn't be able to play. They'd have to serve that suspension.
You could pick up your phone and call these people?
Yes, these are some people that I know who are suspended from the Open Cup. But I don't know anybody suspended as long as Cuauhtemoc Blanco. I'm not sure what his suspension
still a
ended up
gift
being,
that
but it
keeps
was
on giving.
massive.
I don't care.
Yeah, it was
amazing.
a big-time suspension for Blanco. Some very bad acting in the Open Cup against DC United. I'm trying to remember exactly what he did because it was bad.
Lunge coach or something?
Okay, so this was in 2008. Oh, he might. Well, I don't know. I don't think he played in the Open Cup again, so his suspension would probably be still valid. This is from the Washington Post, July 31st of 2008. Cuauhtemoc Blanco, a Chicago Fire standout who was named MVP of last week's MLS All-Star Game, will not be allowed to play in the U.S. Open Cup for at least 2 years because of his actions during a match against DC United this month. Blanco allegedly headbutted a United operations official after being ejected from an Open Cup quarterfinal at the Maryland Soccerplex on July 8th. That's strong. headbutting operations officials because you get red carded.
Gouges a dude's eye, apparently.
Blanco and Mark Birch received red cards for a scuffle during extra time of United's 2-1 victory. Later, after not leaving the field in a timely manner, a DC official was attempting to escort Blanco from the bench area when Blanco allegedly tried to headbutt him. I don't see anything about gouging eyes. Let's not add to Blanco's goatness when it comes to the Open Cup and getting suspended.
Subtitle to a YouTube video that I'm now watching.
Something like that. Next up, one of my favorites and one of the greatest villains in MLS history, El Pescadito, Carlos Ruiz.
Yes, I was wondering if someone would bring him up.
He needs to be in the conversation for MLS GOAT. As a player on the field, as a goal scorer in this league, Carlos Ruiz was outstanding. And he was... You don't get a lot of villains in this league, or you haven't up until recently. And I'm not talking like hated teams. I'm talking about individual players. Ruiz is one of those guys. He's one of those guys that you love to have him in your group, but, man, he drives you crazy if you're playing against him.
Yeah, that's just... Love him on my team, hate him on someone else's.
Yeah, Carlos Ruiz, let's see, 183 career matches in MLS through 2016, scored 89 goals, 17 assists. He won a title with the LA Galaxy in his first year in the league, where he scored 24 goals in 26 matches. Bounced around a little bit, went to Dallas, was very good for FC Dallas, 2005 to 2007, then kind of moved around a bit, never really found a settled home. Signed really late in his career in 2016 to FC Dallas. Oscar Pereja brought him in when they had a bunch of injuries, and he played one match after not playing in the league since 2013. So Ruiz, 68 goals and 133 appearances for Guatemala. He's their greatest ever player. One of the greatest in MLS history for sure. He had 8 goals in the postseason in 2002 in 6 games, leading LA to the title, and scored the winner in the final. I mean, that's GOAT status. That's 32 goals in 32 goals in 32 matches in 2002. That's big time.
I got a question for us.
Sure.
Where on this list would we put a guy like an Ozzy Alonso?
It's a good question. Most people would not put him on the list because he's a holding midfielder, and they are treated with disdain by most folks. That's why the Holding Midfielder Appreciation Society exists.
But he is, how would you say, good?
He's very good.
Has been good for a while.
Been good for a long time. He's got a trophy to his name. He would be in that list. I mean, when you look at those types of players in this league, you've got him. You've got Chris Armas, who's on that list for holding midfielders who did it for a long time and won. Richie Williams is on that list in the early days with DC United. Those are 3 holding midfielders in this league that have been dominant and in very unflashy kinds of ways. Very underappreciated.
Yeah, I don't need it to always be sexy. I just need it to be effective.
Yeah, it's true. Here's one who's kind of in between. Frankie Haydick, one of Josh Eisenberg's favorite MLS players of all time. Wouldn't put him in the GOAT conversation. Again, he spent a big part of his career, or at least a key part of his career overseas. Came in and really made a splash at the beginning of his career with Tampa Bay Mutiny. Kind of became the face of the Columbus Crew, won a title with Columbus, stuck around in Columbus almost as a mascot for the Columbus Crew in a lot of ways. A great player. I think a little bit of an underrated U.S. men's national team player. Outside looking in on the GOAT conversation, though.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah, outside looking in.
Another one who, if he had spent more time in the prime of his career in the league, would possibly be the GOAT, Brian McBride. Brian McBride was just outstanding with Columbus in the early days of the league. Played his way into national team play. He was the guy who really took up the mantle from Eric Winalda as the best striker for the country. Was incredible in the 2002 World Cup with the national team. Carried Columbus in the early days, then went overseas, and we know what he did at Fulham. Came back at the end with Chicago, didn't have a huge impact there. If he had spent the bulk of his career in MLS, he would be in this conversation, but just too much time at Fulham away from the league.
What about the name we could banter is Brian Ching spent 12 years in this league.
That's a good one. That's a really good one, and a guy who doesn't get a lot of credit. And I think one reason he doesn't is he didn't spend a lot of time with the national team. He was always just on the outside of it. He was a backup to McBride for a little while. He just couldn't quite get that chance. I think he should have had more chances with the national team. I think he should have had more time. Outstanding target forward. He ended up in his career with 82 goals in 233 matches. Pretty consistent. It's kind of crazy to look at it and see 82 goals in his career, and only 3 times did he score more than 10 goals in a season. I wouldn't have expected that. But he had a lot of consistency, and he carried those Dynamo teams in the beginning of their run in Houston. That was when he was at his best. He had 31 goals over 3 seasons in 2006, 2007, 2008. Won 2 MLS Cups during that time frame. I think he's in the conversation for MLS GOAT. I'd say he's there because of the winning, because of the production, and, I mean, how many MLS Cups did he go to? With his time with the Earthquakes, I think he just missed out. He won a Supporter Shield with San Jose, won 2 MLS Cups with Houston. He went to 2 more. That's pretty impressive. He has to be in the conversation.
Down with that. When do we give ours?
Why don't you give yours now?
Gee, thanks.
You opened the door.
Well, okay, so
Mine still hasn't been named, by the way.
Well, I mean, for me, it came down to Moreno and Landon Donovan. And because of everything that Landy Cakes did, 6 MLS, 1 league MVP, 7 best 11s, goals, assists, national team. I've got him at 1. Moreno was 2. What about Robbie Keane?
Robbie Keane might be the best designated player signing of all time. Didn't spend a ton of time in the league, and that would probably take him out of
just
the
a
GOAT
handful
status.
of years, but extrapolating what he could have done, I guess.
But you can't put him in GOAT status for that, and that's I think to be
that's
the
why
GOAT,
I had him at 3.
Yeah, to be the GOAT, you've got to have that longevity and the production and the winning. I think it has to be a combination of all of it. Otherwise, you're either in the conversation but missing out, or you're on the outside looking in.
Yeah, and that's why I had Keane at 3, Moreno at 1B, and Donovan at 1.
Moreno's the one for me. I think Jaime Moreno was one of the guys who bridged the gap from MLS 1.0, MLS 2.0. He scored 133 goals in 340 matches. He won titles in 96, 97, 99, and 2004, and had the career goal-scoring record for a pretty good period of time. He's the guy, Josh Eisenberg chimed in with him just a couple minutes ago. He's the one for me that would be that player. You had some backing from True Blue Images, Jarrett, on Ozzie Alonso. Gets in the mix there. Another shout, Percy Herrera for Brian McBride. Josh also chimes in with Taylor Twellman. And I think Josh said Twellman might have made it into the conversation if it weren't for the concussions. I think Twellman's in the conversation because 101 goals in 174 matches. 174 matches is significant. I mean, you're talking he played a good chunk of 6-7 seasons in the league. The last couple, he had the concussion issues and didn't play very much. But you get over 100 goals, there's only 10 guys who've done that. And he did it in the second fewest games. Bradley Wright Phillips has got 106 in 171 appearances. One of the knocks when it comes to Twellman is he didn't win MLS Cup. Got there a bunch. Kind of the Jim Kelly of the league, but didn't win it.
I was going to say the Dan Marino of MLS.
The Jim Kelly, because he got there, but he didn't win it.
Oh.
Marino only got there once.
So let me throw one more out there. This might be my guy. I keep going back to Brian Ching in my head just because, like, Brian Ching was always one of those faces that I associated with the league. This guy's still playing, though. What about Wando?
Yeah, I held that one back.
Yep. Wando doesn't have an MLS Cup to his name.
No, but he's going to break the record this year for goals.
He will have the goal-scoring record.
2 boots, an MVP.
He'd probably have it already if his defender didn't stick his arm up against Atlanta.
I'd be tied with it.
Yeah, close enough.
See, when you look at the top 5 in goals, and yeah, I mean, we have to consider goalkeepers, we have to consider defenders, we have to consider holding midfielders, playmakers. But goals, it's soccer. You're going to measure it a lot by goals. So your top 5, Landon Donovan's number 1. Trophies. Wondolowski, number 2. Got a couple supporter shields. No MLS Cup. Will have the record by the time he retires. Jeff Cunningham, number 3. Gets left out of the conversation a lot. He wasn't on a lot of good teams. Jaime Moreno, number 4. Moreno won trophies. Talked about it. Ante Razov, number 5. Another one who doesn't get mentioned enough, and some of that's down to the teams he was on. It's not always fair. Razov did win MLS Cup in '98 with the Fire. He wasn't the man on that team, but he did win it with that team. Did not have another MLS Cup. That was the one. Supporter Shield in 2003. 3 Open Cups for Razov. But he gets left out of the conversation, too. It's tough. It's that perfect combination of being in the right place at the right time, producing and doing it over an extended period of time, to me, that gets you GOAT status. And I think Donovan, I think Moreno, I think those are the 2 that I keep coming back to. I would give the nod to Moreno a little bit because of the longevity and bridging the gap between the beginning of the league and seeing it into 2.0 and being that first guy to get over 130 goals in his career. It's Josh Eisenberg does have a good point. Wando will have the Belgium miss that will always be on his resume. It's not MLS, but that's one of those things that will always come up when his name comes up. And it's unfair, but it's there. It's there, and it always will be.
Yeah.
And yeah, go ahead, John.
No, I was going to say, what about a guy like Miola?
He's an interesting one to consider. Let's let the goalkeeper conversation marinate for a minute. Goalkeepers and defenders. We'll come back and talk a little bit about that side of it after a quick break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm going to let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Welcome back. Afternoon drive, Friday. Traffic's still bad. Don't get in it. Just wait it out. Go stop at your favorite watering hole and get a beer. Yeah, if you're stuck in it, hopefully you found the app and it's performing well for you. We have some breaking news. The long national nightmare is over. Loudoun United has hired somebody.
What? A player?
Richie Williams is their first manager. Former DC United legend Richie Williams, who we just mentioned as one of the best holding midfielders in MLS history, is the first manager of Loudoun United. That's a good hire. That's a good hire.
Got no players.
Well, that's semantics, John. I mean, we'll have them eventually, and I think they're playing a bunch of games away because the stadium's not going to be ready in time. And Loudoun United's going to have a tough season, but they have a manager now. That's one step in the right direction. That's a good thing. They'll have players because they'll have academy players and they'll have guys loaned down from the first team. They don't have any USL contracted players right now. Let's remember that when we're talking about this. They'll have access to players. That part's not too much of a problem yet. They just didn't have anybody to lead them. Now they do. Richie Williams has been an assistant with Real Salt Lake. He's been an assistant in the league. I think he was an assistant at DC. I know he was an assistant at Red Bulls at one point. He has been a coach of the U.S. Youth U17s as well, a couple different cycles. So Richie Williams, Loudoun United, USL team, finally has a manager. We got to catch you up on another team that is having a bunch of stuff happen. Vancouver. New manager, Mark Dos Santos, is walking into chaos because, it's Vancouver. Remember how they ended last year when they had the media day to end their season and everybody just vented, just dropped spleens on the table and vented. It was bad. Now you've got more weird things. Let's try to catch up. This is from the Province. Patrick Johnston is the writer. The Vancouver Province reports that Anthony Blondell, Venezuelan striker who was brought in for $1.3 million last year, on his way out. Looks like he's headed to Chile. Believe he is being linked to Huachipito. Could be a player coming back the other way. So that's not awful for Vancouver, but yeah, not recommended when you look at this. And it doesn't look to be going over all that well. You're getting players, Jordi Reyna Instagram storied and said, let me get the translation. It appears another is going to leave me. Poor Jordi Reyna. I'm sad reading that.
That's tragic.
Well, he tagged in his thing, and Extraño La Banda. The La Banda in Vancouver is breaking up in a big way. He tagged Kendall Waston, gone. Tagged Christian Teixeira. Tagged Nicolas Mesquita. Tagged Blondell. Also tagged Efrain Juarez. This is another thing. This is the second point in Patrick Johnson's article. Efrain Juarez Word is he's been banned from the Whitecaps training grounds.
Oh, my God.
Banned. Juarez has not been cited at training camp this week. Apparently, the club doesn't know where he is.
Okay.
You're banned and we don't know where you are.
I'm just reading what Patrick Johnston wrote in the province. They did make a signing today. Lucas Venuto, which we'd mentioned before, a 24-year-old winger Brazilian who's been playing in Austria with Austria Vienna. Signed him on a 3-year deal. It's a TAM deal. Targeted allocation money will be involved in his signing. Played the last 5 seasons in Austria, so he went over there when he was pretty young. They also had to give $150,000 in general allocation money to NYCFC to get his rights, which is more than what you usually see. Normally, it's $50,000 for these types of deals. I don't know if NYC played some hardball, but Vancouver shipping players out that they spent over $1 million for last year, banning players from training, which I would love to hear more about that, and bringing in Lucas Venuto, who is probably wondering what he is getting into. This should make you appreciate how things. Yeah, 150 in GAM. That's what they sent to NYC. This should make you appreciate what's happening in Atlanta with a Miguel Almiron potential transfer and or loan of Ezequiel Barco and how it's being handled. You haven't had to ban anybody from the training ground yet. That's a good thing.
You don't know where you are in your band.
Well, I'm sure they go hand in hand. I mean, it's not like they don't know where he is, or they banned him because they don't know where he is.
Cause and effect.
I'm thinking he hasn't shown up yet, and they don't know why. And the banned part, I'm kind of like, okay, maybe he's just suspended or something because he hasn't reported. I don't know. But this is not good in Vancouver for Marc Dos Santos, who has a lot of leaves to turn over. Lots of them.
They are rumored to an Icelandic striker and a Tunisian center back, though.
Well, I mean, I think every club in this league is rumored to somebody from some obscure country. We do have a Madagascar international who has joined the league. Minnesota United has signed a right back from Ligue 1, Roman Metenier. Is that decent?
Metenier.
Metenier. Right back with Rims. How do you pronounce that?
Reims.
I'm not up on my French.
I think it's Reims.
Okay. 28 years old, another TAM deal. But, a guy from Ligue 1, a guy who does play internationally. It's Madagascar, but it's internationally. Minnesota, I want to watch them at the beginning of this season. I really do. I want to see what happens with Minnesota.
Sure, enjoy it while you can.
They got your boy Osvaldo Alonso.
True.
They've got Jan Grey Goose, which they still need to get a sponsorship with Grey Goose Vodka. That has to happen.
Yeah.
They
got the right colored kit, though.
Yeah, they've spent some money. I mean, it's not bad. They haven't banned anybody from the training ground.
Yet.
They haven't had any accusations about not paying for Ubers.
Or furniture.
Or coffee. So Minnesota's heading in the right direction, folks. It's going to be okay.
Not being compared to Hitler.
Yeah, there's that. I was going to leave that one out, but okay. Yeah. So that's Minnesota. We'll see what happens. New England, Brian Biello, president of the club, tweeted out earlier, we will still add 2 more max contract plus players prior to the start of the season. I think one will be fairly soon. A number of possibilities that we're working on. Would have been nice to have had them in by now, but okay. You also have Diego Fagundes out there, not happy and being vocal about it. New England has some issues to deal with as well. It's going to be an interesting season, folks. Silly season is not even done yet, and it's ridiculous. Players banned from training grounds. My mind is blown. All right, we were going to get into...
And you also need...
Go ahead.
You also need Brad Friedel getting his tactics in a way that he doesn't come out of halftime saying, we pressed them and then they figured it out.
Yeah, you don't need that to happen.
Or cussing on the air for his halftime interview.
Don't need that to happen either. Okay, MLS GOAT. We've left one player out, and I feel very bad about leaving this player out because we should all be ashamed of leaving Preki out of the conversation. Because Preki is definitely in GOAT status. 112 assists. I don't have his goal total in front of me, but it's a lot. MVP. I believe he was an MVP at 38 or 39 years old. And not like anything, oh, well, it's Preki. This is a sympathy thing. No, he was that good. Won an MLS Cup with Kansas City. He is one of the rare individuals who played for Everton, played for Kansas City, and played for the Tacoma Stars. He was an indoor legend who went to Everton after being an indoor legend, then came back to MLS, or came to MLS when it started. Also spent some time at Portsmouth in the middle of it.
Yeah, went back to indoor before that.
Preki is a pretty amazing story, and Preki is one of the all-time GOATs in the league. Played his final game in MLS at 42. Retired after the 2005 season. That's nuts. Preki
79 goals in MLS.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. A manager, too, that I would like to see if he would get another shot. He did really well with Sacramento and then left in bizarre circumstances because reportedly he was going to get a job in either the Premier League or the Championship, and it all fell apart. And he didn't get that job, and then he disappeared for a while. Then he popped back up with St. Louis and USL, and it didn't go so well. Would love to see Preki get another shot somewhere. Preki is one of the most gifted players ever put on the U.S. jersey. So Preki needs to be in that conversation of MLS GOAT. But we were going to talk defenders, goalkeepers, and where they stand. One guy we have to talk about who's still playing, leader all-time in minutes played in Major League Soccer, Nick Rimando.
Yes.
If Nick Rimando was 3 inches taller, he would maybe be the all-time leader in caps for the U.S. national team. I think that's the only knock that some have had on him as a goalkeeper is he's 5'10". He's an outstanding goalkeeper, one of the best shot stoppers I've ever seen. He has an MLS Cup with Real Salt Lake. He has an MLS Cup with DC United. He was on one of the best MLS teams of all time, the 2001 Miami Fusion. He's in the conversation, I think. I think he's absolutely in the MLS GOAT conversation. It's hard to compare goalkeepers to goal scorers for sure, but he's got to be in that mix, Jarrett.
He does, and I have this whole thing in my head where we know he's really good, and I feel bad for anyone who watched the game from 2017 against Atlanta United where they win and won in Salt Lake, and he made just 2, is it fair to call them catastrophic errors in that game that led to Atlanta goals? They
were bad.
And I feel like, man, if somebody turned in right now, they'd go, who is that over-the-hill man playing goal who doesn't belong there? And would not understand what he has been. So I felt bad that, that might have been, if people were getting into the league, I would hate the fact that that was their introduction to Nick Rimando, who was just such a hell beast for a long time and can still stop anybody's shot just about. I mean, the dude's still stupid talented. Goalkeeper's a different level of discussion, though, because of the way this country grows goalkeepers, like, Carter's little liver pills.
Yeah, he bounced back, though, from that game. I worried about him being done, and he bounced back.
He did. I just feel bad if that was people's first impression of him.
The best ever season for a goalkeeper is probably 2000 with Kansas City Wizards. Tony Meola led Kansas City to MLS Cup. 17 clean sheets. He's got the all-time record by 2. Jimmy Nielsen in 2012 with Sporting Kansas City has 15, then a few with 14, and then quite a few with 13. Meola's in that conversation. Here at the beginning, he won an MLS Cup. was part of some other big teams. Later in his career, I mean, he was older when MLS started, but Tony Meola definitely, especially with what he did in 2000 with Kansas City, I think he's in that conversation for MLS GOAT, for sure at goalkeeper.
If we're going to go goalkeepers, I mean, the one in New York right now is...
And he should be in that conversation, for sure. Luis Robles is outstanding. He doesn't have an MLS Cup, and that's one of those things that will be a knock. I know he has supporter shields. He doesn't have an MLS Cup. Kevin Hartman is third all-time on the minutes played list for MLS. Hartman was part of some big teams. He's got 2 MLS Cups, 2002 and 2005 with the Galaxy. He's got a couple supporter shields. He's got a couple Open Cups. Hartman's one of those guys that if you don't follow MLS super close, you might not know much about him. He also had the bad fortune at the national team level of being at a time that bridged... he bridged everybody. He caught Casey Keller, Brad Friedel, Jurgen Sommer at their best. He then caught Tim Howard as he was breaking in. Nick Raimondo was there the whole time. Hartman was never going to get that opportunity with the national team. Only had 5 caps. But 416 matches in MLS. A lot of trophies. Hartman, I think, is part of that conversation as well. El Gato.
And I've got 2 defenders in mind.
Okay, who are they before we go to break?
Pope and Agus.
Yeah, Agus, I think Agus still has the most MLS Cups for an individual. I need to double check that to see if he still holds it, but I think he does. So, we've talked about you gotta win to be in this conversation. He's got that. He's one that a lot of people are going to look down on because of his time with the national team, and they're going to remember own goal from 2002, and they're going to remember an awful back pass against Jamaica in a qualifier that led to a draw at RFK. It was bad. Those are going to get remembered. Agus was one of those guys who was a very good player in MLS, potential GOAT status. Longevity of his career is a big part of that. Great left foot. Maybe not fast enough and good enough to be a true international with the national team, but outstanding in the league. You get that. I think in the U.S. we're only starting to really come to terms with those types of players. You get that in England all the time. You get that with players who are great in the Premier League, just not quite there to break through at the national team level, and that's okay. I think here it's always been if you're not a star for the national team, then you don't matter. And that shouldn't be the case because there's so many players who have been so big in this league that for whatever reason aren't looked that way. And Agus had a ton of caps, but he had some negatives on his national team career, and that's what people are going to cite. Wondolowski fits into that. We just talked about Hartman. Ante Razov didn't get a ton of time with the national team. You've got a bunch of guys like that who are great in this league. Jeff Cunningham, but didn't get that national team time, and I think they get left out of the conversation sometimes. Eddie Pope now, on the other hand, you could make the argument, and Carlos Bocanegra would probably argue it with you, and he should, that Eddie Pope's the all-time greatest defender in U.S. soccer history. And Eddie and Carlos are probably the 2 who should be driving that conversation. And Carlos would be in this conversation if he spent more time in the league. Again, he's another one who started here and then spent the bulk of his career overseas. Eddie Pope did not. Eddie Pope stayed in MLS from day one of his career until the end. That deserves a lot of credit. He also has a bunch of trophies to go with it. I could absolutely buy an argument that Eddie Pope is the MLS GOAT. Absolutely could buy that argument.
I appreciate, by the way, that Carlos is rocking that beard now. Kind of has that old man Logan look from the late Wolverine comics. He's got that. He's got a very grizzled look going about nowadays. Like, this guy's serious. He ain't playing games anymore.
But at the same time, he'll be more than happy to take those blades out of his knuckles and hit you with anything at any time.
I'd be terrified. It's like I could imagine being a kid coming into training and that guy lines up. He's like, "Oh no, I'm going to jump in and show you how to do this right."
Okay, Agus got passed for MLS Cups, and he got tied as well. Landon Donovan has the most with 6. 2001, 2003, 2005, 11, 12, and 14. So Landon Donovan, I might have to just give him the goat over Moreno, who had 4. Agus had 5. 96, 97, 99, 01, 03, the last 2 with San Jose.
It's a run, though.
Yeah, but Landon Donovan had a pretty good run, too, as did Jaime Moreno. Todd Dunavant has 5 MLS Cups, and Brian Mullen has 5 MLS Cups. Another one looking at that list real quick that we'll mention before we go to break, who is also playing indoor soccer like Landon Donovan, Dwayne De Rosario. One of the most talented players to ever play in the league, for sure. And he has, I think it's still my favorite goal in MLS history, the free kick in 2005 against the Galaxy that somehow De Rosario hit it from 30 yards. It swerved 10 yards from right to left and was still rising as it hit the net. I don't know how he did it. I have no idea, but it's the greatest hit on a free kick I've ever seen. Velocity, swerve, all of it. Unbelievable. I remember watching that live and just it blowing my mind that it happened. I didn't think it was possible. I didn't see the Roberto Carlos goal, which is the other way, which was the outside of the foot, left to right. I didn't see that live. The De Rosario one I did. It was late in the season, too. It was actually a meaningful goal for San Jose as they won Supporters' Shield that year. He's in the conversation for MLS GOAT. I think he has to be. A lot of names we've thrown out at you. It's been fun having this conversation. We got to talk about the bands, too. We haven't done that yet. But we got to take a break first. So we're going to take a quick break, come back. More Friday flashback after this.
As a business owner, you know that every year brings new challenges and opportunities. The success of your business demands expertise and focus. And Country Financial can help you keep that focus by helping ensure you have the right insurance protection in place to meet your goals. Jason Wright can help you create a customized insurance plan that has coverages designed just for your business. Give Jason a call at 678-568-6871 or reach him on Facebook at Jason Wright Agency. Coverages vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA is a national nonprofit working to transform youth and high school sports so that every child has a positive character-building youth sports experience. PCA provides live and online workshops to train double goal coaches whose first goal is winning and whose second, more important goal is teaching life lessons through sports. PCA also has workshops for parents and high school student athletes. For more information, please visit positivecoach.org.
If you've been hurt in a car wreck, contact my friend Steve Apolinsky of Apolinsky & Associates. He's been representing individuals for over 30 years throughout Georgia and Alabama. Email him at steve@aa-legal.com or call him 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. Friday flashback edition of the show. We've talked MLS GOAT, and I think we have not answered the question, and I don't think we're going to be able to. I think it's down to everybody having their own. We went through a lot of names and a lot of important ones. Maybe we needed to do an MLS GOAT 11. Maybe each of us need to do that. That's how we might try to answer this and continue the conversation because we have to. Couple other names we'll throw out real quick before we get into the music side of the Friday flashback. Josh Eisenberg loved D-Rose goal celebration. That was a good one. That's one of the best celebrations in league history is I don't even know what you call it. It's like a strut walk, look kind of like a duck a little bit. I don't even know.
Like
I don't know
strut?
what the thing was. Kind of a duck strut. Yeah, I don't know. It was nice though, and it was iconic. And you need some of those. Joseph has an iconic goal celebration. That's great. We need more things like that. Let's see. Marco Echeverri. Well, that too. Who was it who stole that? I saw somebody yesterday. Was it Jorginho for Chelsea who did a little bit of the Joseph penalty? Not as exaggerated. Right. It wasn't as exaggerated, but it had a hop in it at the point of attack. So I'm going to say that he was influenced by Joseph Martinez.
So we asked Dion Pereira about that the other day, and he says the first things I saw of United were Joseph taking a penalty, and he said it was real unique. He said, and someone asked, has somebody else done that? He said, oh, God. No, he's like, I don't think anyone else does something like that. Joseph's running. He's like, no, you're not supposed to do that. It works for him, though. He was just kind of taken back by the Joseph even doing it in the first place.
It takes a special talent and a special bit of swagger to pull that one off.
Yeah, it takes some cockiness.
Yes. Michael Valverde throws Marco Echeverri into the mix. Another one we haven't mentioned. El Diablo. Incredible player. Didn't have quite the longevity that Jaime Moreno did. He was a little bit older when he came here, but was just the focal point of those early DC United teams as Moreno was still kind of coming into his own. He had a goal against Miami from midfield. It's one of the best long-range goals like that. You know, you see the goals from midfield where the goalkeeper's out or whatever, and a lot of times it's just slotting into an open net. He struck this pretty well, and the goalkeeper wasn't that far out. It was a great goal from Echeverri, but he was a great assist man as well. Complete player. Echeverri is definitely in the GOAT conversation. Did we catch any others? Alex Cuppers on Twitter. Parkey. It's a good call. Parkhurst has gotten MLS Cup now. A lot of longevity. Did spend a little bit of time outside the league. But, yeah, you could absolutely consider him among the best defenders in league history. I completely agree. David Benson throws Robbie Keane and David Beckham into the conversation of biggest designated players to help advance the league. Beckham for sure. I mean, the rule was called the Beckham rule for a long time. I still think Keane was the best designated player signing who's produced the most. Giovinco will maybe argue that depending on how he leaves and how the season goes. And Atlanta United's going to have some designated players to argue that as well. But Robbie Keane, for me, is the gold standard for designated players at this point. All right, we got to get into the bands because this was the second part. John went to see Crash Test Dummies last night over at Variety Playhouse. Yeah, no, I'm sure it was. A band that I have never seen live, and I've seen a lot of the bands from that time period live. Never saw them live. I'm sure it was a good show. And they're doing, what is it, 25th anniversary of their second album?
Yep, 25th
First big
anniversary.
One in the US.
God Shuffled His Feet, and they're playing all of the songs from that album plus another 20, 25 minutes of tunes, and it's a solid hour and a half.
That's become the thing now, is the classic bands go and do a classic album in its entirety and then do an encore with other stuff. That's a very common thing now. It's kind of weird with some bands doing it. I'm kind of baffled by some of the choices, but let's get into the bands that you guys threw out that you would like to see today from that era. Rachel Affleck, Goo Goo Dolls. I saw the Goo Goo Dolls.
John still tours.
Yeah, I saw them open for Bon Jovi at Phillips. It was not good. I'm sorry, Rachel. Maybe it was just a bad day. I was very disappointed. I'm not like a huge Goo Goo Dolls fan. I actually like some of their earlier stuff before they really like blew up here. They had one, it was like I think the second single after they started to blow up, after Name got big, and I really liked it. It was more up tempo. And I liked some of the earlier stuff I went back and listened to, but I was disappointed with my concert experience with the Goo Goo Dolls. Maybe, again, it was just a bad day. They were opening for Bon Jovi. That's a tough one to match up to as well.
So was it Name and Naked were off of that first album?
maybe it was an older song than that. I got to remember it. They did it on Beverly Hills 90210. I remember that much. Because remember, they played Steve Sanders' birthday party on the yacht on Beverly Hills 90210.
See.
Mm-hmm. A lot of bands on Beverly Hills 90210.
Steve was never the same after Claire left to go to Paris.
Well, that was when Claire was with like the Prince guy or something. The Prince was trying to get with Claire, and she decided to stay with Steve. So she was around at that point. Anyway, we can talk Beverly Hills 90210 down here at 4:30 in the morning on Thursdays. But let's move on. David King, Uncle Tupelo. That's a good call. That's a real good call. They were a band. If you're not from around here, you might not know Uncle Tupelo that well. John, are you familiar with Uncle Tupelo's work?
No, I am not.
They're from Illinois. They were in that like alt country era. Went on. They split, and you had two bands emerge out of Uncle Tupelo: Wilco, who I think a lot of people know, very well, and Sunvolt, who I really liked.
Them too.
I liked Sunvolt a lot. Jay Farrar went to Sunvolt. Jeff Tweedy went to, or everybody but Jay Farrar went on as Wilco. I didn't really know them at the time. I guess I got to know them later after Sunvolt and Wilco kind of got big, and I'd go back and check it out. I don't know the story there, and David, you'd have to chime in. I don't know if they would get back together and play, if they get along, if it was a nasty breakup. I don't know. Sometimes you see that. I see a quote here. Mike Haydorn said, "Nothing's ever for sure, but I would have to say no such thing." Farrar didn't want them to get back together. Tweedy said they wouldn't be able to do anything new musically. That would be one of those bands that you'd like to see play again, but it's probably not likely.
Like Oasis.
They're brothers. I mean, I could see that happening at some point. I could see that one. This one, I don't know. Because both went on and had success, on their own. And Uncle Tupelo wasn't huge on their own, so how big would the reunion be? Maybe not big enough to make it work.
Here's your quote. Farrar and Tweedy's relationship became more tumultuous, leading to verbal altercations after concerts. In one account, Tweedy recalled, "Around this time, I'd say something into a microphone on stage, and afterward, Farrar would pull me aside and say, 'Don't you ever blanking talk into that microphone again.'
Fair enough.
He would misconstrue me talking into the microphone as more evidence of my out-of-control, rampant ego, more evidence of me feeling like I didn't have to be so blanking afraid anymore."
Good times. Yeah, David, that might not happen. I don't know how they feel today, but yeah, I didn't know enough of that. I'm gonna have to go back and see if I can find a Behind the Music on Uncle Tupelo. I miss Behind the Music.
They need one.
I miss Behind the Music. That was a great show. Let's see. Four-Card Ahmed, and this is another one that you can't see. Sublime. And one of those that you had the tragedy with Bradley Knoll, and if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, did he pass away before they really blew up? Or was it right after they blew up?
Efforting.
No idea.
I can't remember because you had a lot of that happening at that time. I mean, I've been digging deep into Pearl Jam here lately, and the Mother Love Bone story is one where Andrew Wood died right before their major label album came out, and they ended up becoming Pearl Jam, and you had the Temple of the Dog album and all that. But I can't remember in Sublime's case if it was before or after.
Headlined Snowcore Tour in 96, began recording what would comprise the self-titled third record major label debut, completed it before Noel died of a heroin overdose, May 25th, 96, in a motel in San Francisco, California, the day after their last live show in Petaluma. Jason Westfall, one of Sublime's managers, quoted as saying the surviving members of Sublime had no interest in continuing to perform and record under the Sublime name, just like Nirvana. Sublime died when Brad died.
But they've come back and they've done stuff lately, which is good. I mean, it's tough. There's not a right way. when these things happen. I know some people get really bent out of shape when a band does continue, but they were in the process of blowing up, and yeah, that's rough. More, and we're going to take our final break here. So if you have any other Friday flashback bands that you would like to see today from the 90s, that's kind of where we're at here. Please share them with us on Twitter at Soccer Down Here. We're going to take our final break, come back, a little bit of stoppage time after this.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service Ad Council and your state forester.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Every hiring manager knows that a company is only as good as the people it's made from. So where do you find the best people? That may surprise you.
Meet the grads of life, young adults of unique determination and experience, an ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
This is talent worth knowing about.
Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Final segment. Already in stoppage time. It's one of those days. We don't do afternoon drive very often. We're kind of in a whole different type of format today, so bear with us. Soccer down here, or music down here, or goats down here. It's what it's turned into today. The Friday flashback, we've covered the MLS GOAT discussion. We're talking about music from the 90s because John went to see Crash Test Dummies last night, and the question was, what band from that era would you like to see today? Katie Weaver with one of the best answers of the day. First, she was shocked we were talking about the Crash Test Dummies. And the band that came to mind quickly for her was the Connells. Awesome band, the Connells, from North Carolina, I believe. Right in my wheelhouse of mid-90s, poppy alternative, great band. 74-75 was the song that I always remembered from them. She also had a shout to Sunny Day Real Estate, which is a band that I've come to appreciate a lot more later on. I didn't know as much at the time, but a band that's, I think, really influential today, too. Maybe one of those that's more influential after the fact than during their run. Jonathan Hilliard came in with a bunch, all in about the 90s bands. Hootie and the Blowfish, who is touring this year, I believe. Didn't they announce that on like the Today Show or something? Back. Yeah, I mean, hey, do your thing,
Stop
Hootie.
singing Wagon Wheel for a minute?
He did the country thing for a while. It wasn't that bad. He actually had a
solid cover of a good song.
Yeah, he actually had a really good kind of soul record too in, I think, 2000 or 2001. I believe Verve released it. I think it was on the Verve label. It was good. He's a good vocalist.
No, I'm not mad at him for covering Wagon Wheel so well. He did a good job and made a lot of money. Go do you, man.
Yeah, hey, make that cash. Go do the country thing and make that money. Another one Jonathan Hilliard mentioned that I've seen a bunch of times, Sister Hazel from Gainesville, Florida. All For You was the big song, and they kind of had that thing where your first song is so ridiculously huge that you can never live up to it again. And that was kind of what happened to them. They had a really good second record, then dropped from the major label. We're talking 2001, 2002, which was happening a lot. They went out and did their own thing, and they're at that level where they can go and tour and make stupid money touring because they're big enough to where they can go play a theater and pack it out. And they've been able to put out their own music and control their own career. And I think they were one of the first to jump on the cruise thing, where the band would book a cruise and play a bunch of shows, and they would play like their debut album, one night, and they'd play like a bunch of covers one night and stuff like that. They were ahead of the curve on that. I think they've ended up having a great career and probably a better career than they would have ever had if they'd stayed on a major label.
And you mentioning the Connells is kind of trying to push me into remembering if I remembered the Connells. But yeah, they're from Raleigh.
Yes. Jonathan Hilliard had a couple more. Presidents of the United States of America. Awesome band. Awesome band. And Bush. Bush, I really liked at the time. I don't know how well they hold up.
What did Bush
I don't
do?
know if someone mentioned that earlier or not.
Tune?
I mentioned Cranberries as a band that 99X broke. I mean, it can't happen now, sadly, but I think they have an album coming out this year that they had recorded with Dolores before she passed away. I think I read they were putting the finishing touches on it, and it's coming out in 2019. I saw them at the Masquerade Music Park back in the day, and Mazzy Star opened. It was really good. That was a good show. Okay, who else did we not hit? Rachel Affleck also had Bush listed as well. I think we hit everybody's bands. Jarrett, did you have any others that you thought of?
Blues Traveler.
Oh, yeah. That's a good call. That's a very good call.
Man, everybody listened to 4 when it came out.
Oh, yeah, for sure. No, that was ridiculous. Okay, we've had a couple responses on the music side. Sorry, I laughed when I saw Nick Alifi's tweet because he said, the lead singer of Sunvolt had the weakest handshake I have ever experienced in my life. It creeped me out how weak it was. Like somehow his frailty was contagious. That's... Wow. Okay. Josh Eisenberg went kind of...
our poet laureate, and we're not going to know what to do with it.
Seriously, I know. Josh Eisenberg went all over the place on his, which is completely fine. Aerosmith, who you can see for a ridiculous amount of money ahead of the Super Bowl. It's stupid money. I think they're playing at State Farm Arena, and it's crazy money. Green Day in the Dookie era. Yes, I would like to see Green Day in that era for sure. If I could transport back to see a band in an era, that would be a one I would pick. MXPX and the Beastie Boys. I never had a chance to see the Beasties. That's one that would have been on my list. I never had a chance to see the Beasties. The Beasties, Nirvana, and Prince are the 3 that I did not get to see.
Yes.
And not happy about that. Kefzi with one, another one that I have not seen, and one of my favorites, no doubt.
Okay.
No Doubt's a great band. I like maybe the non-singles more than anything else they've done. I don't know what they would do now. Gwen Stefani's kind of went very pop, and it's working for her, and more power to her, doing the voice thing and all that. They did an album a few years ago, and it was pretty good. I just don't know what the appetite is for them right now. It's got to be in that 25 years since Tragic Kingdom came out, which was their big breakthrough. I think it's around that point. I think it was a 1994 record, so maybe they'll do something around that. That would be pretty cool. My other one that I will not be able to see because I don't think they're ever going to play together again is REM, and I've seen them a whole bunch of times. But
saw REM
at
the Omni during the Monster Tour, and I had like 6th row floor.
I was in the next to last row at the Omni for one of those shows. As high up as you could possibly be.
Yep. And for me, it would be Dire Straits, although John Isley has said that they've got one more good album left in them, and he's trying to convince Knopfler to go out on tour do one more album and do one more tour as Dire Straits. Knopfler still tours solo.
See if that happens. Okay. It's been a long Friday flashback edition. The sun is going down, which, again, is weird. Thanks, everybody, for listening in a different time slot. Let us know if you like this time slot. I think we're good in the mornings, but if for some reason this is a better time slot, I would be intrigued by it or additional programming in this time slot. We'll figure that out.
I think the latter.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see what happens. But let us know what you think about the Afternoon Drive edition of the show. This is an interesting one because we're losing somebody, kind of, sort of, after this. Jarrett is changing jobs and will not be available in the mornings on a regular basis. He might have to pull a Felipe and call from his car or from a stairwell.
There you go.
I'm literally in a stairwell right now.
See? You're already getting practice for it.
Getting warmed up.
Yeah, I've been studying for Felipe. Yeah.
But now you're going to hear Jarrett's voice a lot on 1v1s, on other projects on the SDH network, and we'll figure out a weekly time slot that works. And he's also going to write for the website as well. So Jarrett's not going anywhere. He's just not going to be on as much in the mornings.
Yeah, that's where we're at right now. It's weird. Been here since day one, aside from that temporary exile in West Virginia. So
I forgot about that. That was craziness.
Remember that.
Yeah.
I didn't because the entire USL changed while I was gone.
Oh, yeah, there's that. Man, that was a weird time, Jarrett. Nah, dude, we probably wouldn't have been doing this. I mean, me and you have been doing this for 2 years now, almost just over 2 years. And you took the leap to do daily after we started Peachtree Post, and we're kind of figuring out how to do all this. So I appreciate it, and I'm going to miss talking music and all kinds of other chaos with you every morning, even though we're still going to talk a lot of mornings.
Oh, yeah, there will always be a text chain between the three of us. It's been fun from day one. And, Logan, we've gone over this with other cities about, get stuff started, because all of this started when Jason told me to go meet him for lunch at Fellini's, and Peachtree Post came to be, and then it's like, let's just expand this. And it's been fun. It'll still be fun. I'm just the only difference is now I'm going to just have to listen to SDH at work with like an earphone up my sleeve or something, trying to be yelled at.
And you're going to have to tweet with everybody else at us like during the show. You're not going to be able to just send us direct messages during the show. You're going to have to tweet with everybody, and yeah.
Just get down with the plebes.
Yes.
I'm here for that. That's fine.
You're going to have to yell at us about how to fit 4 designated players in, because that's what we'll be talking about all next week, and you're going to have to chime in.
I can tell you exactly how to do it in a thread, a tweet thread.
And that's it. We're out of time. We're going to have to go because we got to save something for next week. No, thanks, man. We'll be talking plenty. And Jarrett's not, like I said, he's not going anywhere. He's just not going to be on a regular basis. And that's a sad
I'm not
thing,
dead. I'm just mostly dead.
It's a good thing. So it's all good. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks, everybody, for listening all week, for chiming in. Really, really appreciate it. We'll be back Monday as we start transfer countdown. I don't know. Transfer window countdown.
Chaos. Transfer Palooza.
Lots of stuff this weekend probably, and we'll share it as we see it. So we'll be back on Monday at 9. Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha plata, y'all.